the idea of partnerships. I mean, it's come up regularly in this conversation about how we've moved from a very vertical sort of industry structure to one where there's lots of companies, lots of partnerships. That's probably creating tension, but also create opportunity to realize 5G. How is that evolving in the panel's view in terms of whereas there used to be, I guess, carrier, supplier, and then and everybody underneath, now it just feels like there's Venn diagrams all over the place. I mean, how do you think that will evolve over the coming years as we move to standalone 5G and more of the benefits come through?
The fact is that as a telecom startups, you would have to create demand by working with the operators, and then once the operators liked what you had and everything went well, then they would ask you to work with a big brother or sister, right? Because they weren't going to have these relationship with every little startup, right? So then you had to work with a vendor to be able to then integrate it into that solution and bring it back to the operator. So I mean, this would be like 2, 3, 4, 5 years before something would happen, and the investors by that time would go off and want to do something else. So that in itself made a couple of things slow. The innovation pace was slow. The entrepreneurs coming to telecom, that would slow them down. The investment from other people coming to telecom was slow. So now we living in the different era, and hopefully this will flourish quickly, is that we are going from a vertical stack disaggregating into a horizontal stack, specifically in RAN, which is very important because RAN is where 70% of the expenditure of an operator comes in. So then you're able to innovate at a much more granular level, which means startups can come in and innovate in those levels, and many of them. So this notion of expanding the supply chain, really opening up the ecosystem is very important, and then being able to cultivate that and continue with creating enough demand so then these companies can survive and thrive and know that they don't have to be a humongous company or have to integrate with a humongous company in order to matter. They could just do a piece of the innovation and still make a big impact. So I think it's really important. I mean, I know for a fact that there were companies that would have gone out of business if it wasn't for Rakuten going into mobile network operations back in 2018. And so we supported them, we made sure, and now they're thriving and things are going very well. But as an industry, we have to continuously work on this and cultivate and nourish this ecosystem, because that's how we get innovation and much quickly into the telco space.
How about you, Greg? You work with a lot of partners, sort of on as a matter of course.
I think what's interesting about the changes is that everybody on this phone now kind of works with each other. So the traditional ecosystem was very linear, right? It went from a carrier to a tier 1 provider to maybe a tier 2 provider like me, and then we would go and then to Flex, and it was a much more linear ecosystem. Now it's a much more they say it's an Venn diagram. So I think the opportunity is the ecosystem is changing and moving fast. It's an open ecosystem, so we have to all work together, partnerships on reference designs, open interfaces, interoperability testing, etc. And so I think we're investing a lot more in partnerships all the way up from enterprise players, say HPE, to software and service providers, Mavenir, to the network operators like Rakuten. So we're trying to play across the whole ecosystem, and I think everybody else is as well. And so the partnerships are key to making this work, because no matter how much is standardized, the key is that you have to make it all work across you make it work seamlessly across all the interfaces, all the way from the RAN all the way through to the cloud, like you heard many people say. So we see that changing, and I think that's going to be positive for the industry in general.